time you look at by the time you go down the motion, you also see a lot of things. Like if you go to the prayer, the resolve to mandate the House Committee on Aviation to collaborate with relevant regulatory agencies and other stakeholders in the aviation sector to ensure that all acquired landing equipment, Category 3 ILS and other supportive equipment are installed in the designated airports without further delay to forestall further incidents of flight diversion in our airspace. So we are giving 2 weeks. Instead of 4 weeks, they reduced it to, the House reduced it to 2 weeks. So we have is an investigative committee to find out why the flights, so many flights were diverted to other neighboring countries. You know, they mentioned Ghana, not only Ghana, some went far as up to Sierra Leone and Senegal, Dakar, and also to Lomé. Okay? While lately, some also, from what I heard, Qatar Airline, now instead of landing in Lagos, landed in Abuja here. So we wanted to find out why, because if you recall, we met on the 9th of January, and we actually asked this question about, in case if there's any weather situation, what is going to be our fate? And the questions were answered by the MD Nama, and well, surprisingly we experienced, you know, where we are concerned, one, not just we are concerned about the position of our country. You know, where it's not just that flights were diverted, but anytime we have this situation, we are promoting our neighboring countries. Because there's a trade war going on between Nigeria and other countries. So whatever mistake we make, other countries take advantage of it. Let me not mention the country, but they'll try to take advantage of these mistakes. And before we know it, instead of us being a major hub in Africa, and these countries may benefit from our mistakes. So that's why we are concerned, and we decided that we will invite you people to give us, to explain to us why so many flights were diverted to our neighboring countries. So you're welcome. Maybe I will start with our guests to do their introduction after the distinguished hear from you. Thank you. Don't worry, sit down, sit down.
My name is My name is Captain Fola Akinkoju, Managing Director, the Nigerian Airspace Management.
I'm the General Manager, Navigational Aids, NAMA.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and honorable members. My name is Engineer Johnson Otitolaye, General Manager, Special Duties and Technical Advisor to the
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairman, distinguished colleagues, the Secretariat, the invited guests. I'm Fatou Balushola, member representing Ado Ekiti, a reporting fellow to Federal Constituency of Ekiti State.
Honorable Chairman, members, our invited guests, I am Honorable Mustafa Saidu, representing Fufore Federal Constituency from Adamawa State.
supervise all the agencies. So they are the boss of all the bosses. They they own the airports, while the NAMA is actually directly involved in this issue. ILS, the issue of ILS, DME, and DVOR. So when I think I will ask the MD of NAMA to explain to us what actually happened, why flights were diverted to neighboring countries, and from there we'll take it up from there. Thank you. Also, why answering this our question, you should also note that we are all concerned about this situation. The entire country is concerned about it, because if you are aware, the aviation sector is a very big concern to everybody right now, because it's the safest means of transportation, it's the easiest, and it's the fastest. So everybody is concerned about what is happening in the aviation sector, not what it used to be. Before, people go by road, no problem, people go by any means, but right now, people are now interested in the industry. So I want you to, while answering this question, you have to brief us in a way, because the camera is facing you, brief us in a way that other people outside here will understand what you're saying. Thank you.
Honorable Chair and honorable members, I thank you for the opportunity to be able to explain what has happened lately. First of all, I'd like to remind all viewers that what is of paramount importance to us, the agencies in aviation, is safety. In our collaborative effort to improve the safety of flights and aviation in this country, we have succeeded in what can be classified as a 6-year or over 6-year accident-free situation. Safety and security are prime in our minds. And of course, we also want to extend conveniences in flight operations to the public. So, sir, our actions and what we do has actually been primed of, well, the focus is on safety and security. And so far, in the last 6 years or more, we have done quite well. The core issue of what has led to this situation is the weather. It's convenient, I think, sometimes for us to assume that there is no global weather effect. There's been a global weather effect and global changes in weather patterns lately. As I walked into this room, or well, into this building, I looked outside this afternoon, and I saw that it was still hazy. Yesterday, I think maybe Lagos may have experienced the first rains. In the past, Lagos would have gotten rains in January. And my experience, even as somebody who flew extensively in this country, as an airline captain, by this time of the year, we will have seen the end of the Harmattan haze. But we looked outside this afternoon, the Harmattan haze is back, and it is not going away. So, sirs, I'd like to emphasize the fact that there has been a shift in the weather pattern in one way or the other. About a week ago, or a little bit more, flights were canceled, over 300 flights were canceled in Europe. due to weather. Yesterday, there was a sandstorm situation in Mauritius that led to flight cancellations where airplanes could not land. It is in recognition of the fact that there is a changing trend in weather pattern that the government of Nigeria has made effort over the years to improve our ability to take off and land. With your kind permission, sir, I'd like to state that in this country many years ago, in the 70s, there were only VORs that were available in this country. There were no ILSs. Government, in its recognition to improve, moved from the provision of just VOR to ILSs, and we started with Category 1 ILSs. To further improve the situation, we installed virtually in more than 16 airports ILSs in this country, and some of them, I believe 10 of them, were Category 2. In response to the clamor and demand of the public, and in particular, I remember a letter was written by the AON to NAMA before I got there, but I did read the letter, in which AON had said, had written what they had said consistently, that this country was ripe for a Category 3 ILS. Again, with your kind permission, I will just mention that the categories of Category 1 ILS, Category 2 ILS, and Category 3 ILS provides for flights to be able to operate in inclement weather of degrading conditions. When we had VORs, we could only land with, at best, 1,600 meters of visibility. Category 1 ILS gave us the opportunity to drop down to 800 meters. Category 2 gave us the opportunity to drop down to 600 meters. And Category 3, depending on what category it is, gave us the ability to not focus on the visibility, but to focus on what is called decision height. So it was in a bid to improve on our ability to land and to conduct flights that these facilities were put in place. Like I said, based on efforts of government and a decision to put Category 3 in Lagos, in Nigeria, we wanted to start with 2 airports. Lagos and Abuja were marked as the 2 airports to start with. The installation of ILS Category 3 in Lagos, migrating from Category 2, was completed on the 11th of November 2019. I do not want to lean back on the fact that because of the requirement to comply with due process, we had normally had expected to finish it earlier than that. But for the compliance of due process, the timelines moved from July 2019 to November 2019. We didn't have the weathers at that time. And we scheduled our first calibration for the 10th and 23rd of November 2019. We couldn't calibrate. Again, we scheduled another calibration effort for January 16th to the 8th of February. During that period, our prime consideration was to start calibration with Lagos. The calibration aircraft which have been purchased by government, registration 5 November, Charlie Alpha Alpha, CAA. Beechcraft 350I, which I'm sure that the honorable members know was going to conduct this calibration. It arrived Lagos ready to do the calibration. Unfortunately, it was discovered that there were interferences from, if you excuse my language here, rogue transmissions from masts, which we did not know. The interferences made it impossible for the aircraft to be able to obtain global position satellite information. We immediately informed the NCC, and the NCC, in quick response, sent a team to Lagos, and they conducted a sweep around the airport. They were able to narrow the interference to some MTM masts, which were asked to be shut down. And despite the shutdown, we still had some interferences. While effort was being made to isolate this interference in the Lagos area, the airplane was dispatched to Abuja, because the ILS Category 3 in Abuja had to be commissioned too. The commissioning, flights, and calibration of the Abuja Category 3 was successful. After the success in Abuja, the airplane was also dispatched to other parts of the country that needed calibration in terms of schedule calibrations, not commissioning. We did Kano, we did Kaduna, we did Mina, Katsina, and some of the airports, and we have the certificates of the flight calibrations with us. Let me quickly add, sir, that calibrations are required by law. For ILSs, calibrations are required every 6 months. For other navigational aids, they are required calibration for every 12 months. Like I said, the calibrations for all these other places were successful. But because of the interference in Lagos, we couldn't conclude the calibrations in Lagos. Subsequent to this, we again met with the NCC, and we held a joint meeting with the Federal Ministry of Aviation, the NCAA, NAMA, and the officials of the Federal Ministry of Aviation. We met, and a decision was made again to revisit Lagos to narrow or to expand the scope of the possibility of where the rogue interferences were coming from. Let me, or permit me, sir, to explain certain things, because while we were doing the the calibrations, we had concluded Lagos, because Lagos has 2 runways, the 18 left and 18 right. We had concluded both 18 right and left to Category 1 certifications. The reason being, for you to have a Category 3 certification, you must be able to identify by global positioning a point on the approach path where, if the pilot cannot land, he will have to conduct a misapproach. This point on a Category 3 ILS will bring you to 50 feet within the runway. And ordinarily, At 50 feet, you actually overhead the threshold. So there is an absolute need for greater accuracy in determining or calibrating ILS-3 approaches, which is what delayed the issuance of or the obtaining of a Cat 3. Like I said, we met again with the NCC, and they came and they did another sweep and found more rogue transmissions that were causing the interferences, and they were asked to shut down, and they did shut down this time. Subsequent to that, flight calibration exercise was conducted, and the ILS Category 3 in Lagos was successfully completed on the 21st of February 2020. The aircraft used in all the calibrations that we did was, again, the aircraft belonging to the Federal Ministry of Aviation, 5 November, Charlie Alpha Alpha. On the issue of flight diversions, sir, flight diversions are at the discretion of airline policies as well as the captain's discretion. And it depends, by and large, on what your alternates are. During the period in question, we had northeasterly winds sweeping, if you excuse me, sand from the Sahara down south. And all countries or cities don't get hit by the same amount. Lagos got a bigger chunk of dust haze during that period, much heavier than Ghana. Available data to what the weather was is available. If Ghana, sir, the weather had depreciated below 800 meters, they would have closed the airport. Because Ghana has a Category 1 ILS. So it was a matter of what the amount of dust haze that Ghana got that was more than Lagos at that particular time. So the magnitude of dust haze was a determinant on where you could go. And of course, what facilities they had there. A lot of airlines did land, because not only did we have ILS, we have other approaches. We have performance-based navigation approaches. We have RNAV approaches. Sir, there was no complaint that Virgin Atlantic couldn't land. There was minimal, if any, of KLM not landing or Lufthansa. But what I like to point out, sir, is that these flights that were coming from Europe and the Middle East, one comes from the north direct south, and others come from the northeast, again coming south. The airplanes had ample time to have contact with Lagos and to determine whether or not where they were going to divert. I would have thought, or we would have thought, that the airplanes should have diverted as a natural place to Abuja. They were overhead Nigerian airspace. The passengers they are carrying, if you excuse me, are Nigerians. They had Nigerian identification or visas. So, I mean, naturally, I would have thought. But again, NAMA does not run the airline operations, and therefore, we couldn't have. But I must emphasize that there was abundant opportunity for us to have landed those aeroplanes in Abuja. In closing, sir, I want to reiterate the fact that NAMA and the agencies in the aviation industry make significant effort to ensure the safety and security of our passengers, which is key and which is the most important thing. Diversions might be inconvenient, but we'd rather see people safe. And like I said, the effort of the government has been to improve our situation, and as we speak today, the situation and our capabilities have improved significantly. We have ILS Category 3 certified, and we have certificates to show for it in Lagos and Abuja. Government effort is to expand the scope of the ILS 3 into places like Kano, Port Harcourt, Maiduguri, and other parts of the country. The effort of NAMA and all the agencies of aviation is to ensure that we have minimal pain or minimal inconvenience to our passengers. We hold our passengers and all Nigerians very dearly. Our heart goes out to them when they do not achieve their goals. But we are happy that, yes, they are safe. And we are happy that though the airlines had other options to put them within the airspace of Nigeria and they didn't, again, we are happy that they are safe. And finally, that we have, despite the hitches of the weather, we have been able to commission the ILS Category 3 in Lagos and Abuja. Being mindful of the fact that Category 3 is only available in only one place in Africa besides Nigeria as of today. It's only available in Casablanca in Morocco. And the fact that government intends to expand the availability of these modern systems encourages us that definitely we are many steps ahead of other people. Thank you, sir.
There's no Category 3?
I say so, category, sir.
There are none in Accra?
I tell you, sir, with certainty, I mean, given time, there is a book called Jefferson.
Okay.
In two places, Lagos and Abuja.
For some other airports.
The process is ongoing.
But you've installed in some other airports, not commissioned?
No, sir. We have installed in Lagos and Abuja.
Federal constituency. Further to my chairman's question, how many more are we expecting? You've done 2 so far, and you've made us to understand that the process is on. So we are expecting how many more at the moment, the Category 3 ILS?
Immediate future, the plan is to install in 5 airports in the immediate future. And part of the determining process is how adversely places are hit, if you excuse my language there, sir, by those hits. And of course, the traffic volume. But there is a plan to ensure that all airports, given time, will be able to get Category 3. Category 3 is not so much more expensive, if you excuse me, than Category 2. And the lifespan of the ILS is like 10 years. So if we put it in place, we can spread this over a period and they won't be behind at any point. So the plan, like I said, in the short term is to increase to 5 and to provide for more.
Possible and telling us other airlines that have landed and why the other ones have not landed. Because this was a very good opportunity for you to apologize to Nigerians on behalf of your agency and the aviation sector in general. That look,
These are the things, because most of them have been going through trauma. I have my constituents that have been going through trauma as a result of that. That is one observation. And secondly, I want to ask, what budget? What budget? Because, Mr. Chairman, this is an investigative committee. And when you're talking about investigation, you deal with facts and figures. So I would like to know, and Nigerians would also like to know, what amount was actually provided for the calibration aircraft? That is one. And secondly, you talked about rogue transmissions, that there were some rogue transmissions. That was why it could not be upgraded to ILS Category 3. I would like to know in definite, specific terms what actually caused such a huge delay if the aircraft, from what you said, have been purchased November 19. So what bureaucracy or technical bureaucracy must have impeded the successful transmission from Category 2 to Category 3 within that timeline of November, December, in order to forestall some of these things that we experienced? So I think I'll just leave it at those two.
Any situation, and unfortunately the thing repeated itself just of recent, sir. And secondly, the issue of rogue interference, the master you mentioned, what will be the permanent solution to such things so that we will not witness such occurrence in future? Thank you.
I think you're saying categorically that the weather situation was the cause of the diversion of the flights, right? Am I correct, sir? Yes. But any airport without the C-83 would have faced the same situation, right? Like with that kind of weather, there will be diversion. If you don't have the C-83, definitely you will not be able to land, right? But now we have the C-83, so on those runways. So Nigeria is one of the two airports, two countries all over Africa that can land when those weather conditions occur, right? So I just want to get out on record that that weather condition was the only reason why these flights couldn't land, right? Good. Now, you said, which on the surface, I kind of wondered that with the flights coming in, they've practically entered Nigerian airspace, and they're coming like from the north, and they're going to Lagos. Why didn't they land in Abuja? Why did they have to go to another African country? It makes logical sense to me, right? But so I want to ask you, are you trying to insinuate that there's maybe an undertone why they didn't choose to land in Abuja, right? They are coming, they're going to pass, they've entered Nigerian airspace. Most of them are going to be Nigerians. Those that are not Nigerians have Nigerian visas or residence permit. And it still goes maybe 1 hour or so to get to Lagos. Why did they go to another country? Why didn't they land within Nigerian airspace? Sounds logical to me. Is there an undertone? Are you insinuating maybe there's a political reason or whatever? Can you throw some light on that? Because I suspect you're trying to say something, but you don't want to say it totally. Can you throw some light on that?
Sorry, any other?
Honorable Chair. Honorable, I don't know your name. I'm not very good with names. But I want to use the opportunity to take your point on board. And like I said, my heart and our heart goes out to the inconveniences that Nigerians had to go through. My minister had apologized, I believe, to the public, and I do apologize that the intent for NAMA was not to inconvenience anybody. But sometimes we can play God. We apologize that this has happened, but again, I must say that it was not in any way a deliberate attempt for us to inconvenience any Nigerian. The calibration aircraft belongs, like I said, to the Ministry of Aviation. I'm not privileged to know or remember what the budgeted figure was. I am sure my minister can answer better on that, if you'd be kind enough, sir.
You don't have an idea of the figure. Are you saying you don't have an idea of the figure? I'm just asking.
Like I said, sir,
if you
I have
don't,
heard that.
say you don't.
No, I have heard that. I have heard that it's about $8.5 million. That's what I read in the papers. But what I'm saying is that you're asking me to ascertain, and I think, without wanting to quote figures that might be inaccurate, and that's why I mentioned my minister. On the issue of interference, it was real, and it was of great concern to us because, like one other member said, what are these? I mean, we have frequencies, radio frequencies, and this is not my expertise, on different bands. And global positioning satellites, I hear, are more susceptible to interference from the L band, which is on where the telecom companies, that is the band in which they operate. Like I said, this is not my turf, but this is what I've heard from the NCC. So it could happen. It's not meant to happen, but it does happen. And when it happens, it is not that they are transmitting there, but there is a rogue, like something is wrong with the antennas, and they are shut down. And in answer to the question of what happens to the interferences next, what we understand is that they've been shut down. Matter of fact, I happen to have listened to a conversation when the NCC called MTN, and MTN said those identified in January had been shut down, but there were more, which is what we found out. I must also mention that why weather was, I don't want to say a culprit, but one of the major causes of this situation was, for calibration, there is a minimum weather that the calibration airplane requires to calibrate, because it is like flying, when you are calibrating, it's like flying in the blind, to be able to be sure that the instruments in the aircraft are your major guide and that you are not seen outside. But to forestall any accidents or running into anything, there are minimum visibility required for the aircraft, as I have been told. The calibration, the manager calibration here can validate that statement that you need a minimum of 5 kilometers of visibility for the calibration aircraft to properly do its job. And sir, you asked if there was an undertone. No. I just expressed an opinion based on my thought. I don't expect that any pilot would, pilots make decisions, I like to believe, on professional grounds. And two different pilots, like my colleague here and myself, who have flown extensively, who make decisions in the interest of safety as we see it. But the essence is we are safe. I can be coming from Kano and there's weather overhead Lagos, even thunderstorm. He might decide to divert into Ibadan. I might decide to divert into a lorry. The key thing is both of us are safe. And I don't think that I will read any meaning into, oh, because he's from Kano, and therefore that is why he went into a lorry, and I went into Ibadan because I'm from Ondo. No. I'd like to believe that there were professional decisions. Why they made those decisions, I wouldn't know. I wasn't there.
To place. So please, I think, Mr. Chairman, he should shed more light on that. Thank you.
My colleagues, like he said, this is an investigative committee. It's a panel, you know, because it was set up by the Speaker. And I believe that from what you told us, one, what we are going to take home with, one, you have done calibration for Lagos and Abuja. Now, no, you said two. For Cat3. For Cat3, two. So what it means is that we will not experience this kind of situation again. That's what it means, right?
Yes, sir. Unless, of course, it drops to 0-0, where anybody cannot see anything.
Okay. And this situation happens only in Nigeria. It doesn't happen in Ghana.
Well, it depends.
Because they have never cancelled any flight.
Rather, they are diverting the flights.
I'm sure that they could, sir. I'm sure, Honorable Chair, that it could have been said that they don't cancel flights in Europe. But they did last week. Yesterday, because of sandstorm.
Well, sandstorm is usually a special case. And when it happens, we know, you know. So, but like we said, it's an investigative panel. The issue you raised about the aircraft and also the cost of upgrading from Cat 2 to Cat 3, I believe that maybe they don't have the information, or maybe they have the information now. If you have the information, we would like to have it. If you don't have the information, we'll give you time to bring the details. Two, the issue of the cost of the aircraft. If they don't have, we still need to speak to the DG NCAA. He may have the information, but if he doesn't have the information, we invite the minister. Because we need to get this information and report back to the House. So these are the things. But now, like I said, we are not going to experience what has been going on before. We're not going to experience it again. I think do you have any other thing to tell us from what I asked?
I don't have.
Okay. Okay. So, okay, good. I know. Yeah. So we'll give you time. We'll give you like a week. We'll give you another week to give us the information. Acting DG, do you have information on the cost of the aircraft?
You all know, the aircraft, the calibration aircraft was purchased by the Federal Ministry of Aviation.
So we'll get the information from aviation. So do you have maybe you throw light on what he just said about the diversion of flights, because you are the...
No, he wants to conclude, sir. So
what you want to tell us, does it have to do with the aircraft purchase?
Honorable Chair, I just needed to clarify a point to you. There are some conditionalities. In a broad sense, we can say most of the airplanes coming from Europe are fully equipped and have ability. But to be able to use a Category 3 ILS approach, you have to qualify in a sense. The airlines will have to qualify for a low visibility approach if the visibility is such that it has dropped down so significantly. The airplane must be certified and equipped to do a low visibility approach and a Cat 3. The pilot must equally have currency in training in having low visibility approaches. I just wanted to add that come tomorrow, if, without trying to trivialize it, if the Honorable Chair buys his aircraft and is flying and it's not so equipped, it might not be able to land. But we know that most commercial airlines that do long haul have the capability. So that's why we stress the fact that we don't expect it to happen again. But if a man decides to buy a Cessna 150 and the visibility is so poor, he might not be able to benefit from what we have for a Cat 3 approach. Thank you, sir.
Diverted to other countries. Our local flights were landing.
Well, I wasn't in any of the airplanes, sir, and like I said, the decision by law on the conduct of a flight rests with the captain.
Passengers' interests not considered when you're executing or implementing your decisions, vis-a-vis the impact it will have on passengers, like the passenger bill of rights, for instance. Is it being taken into consideration? I'm aware that sometimes you have foreign intervention funds that sometimes put in to augment or add as palliatives for passengers. From what you are saying, does it mean that nothing is being taken into consideration for passenger welfare? And then your own safety, is it only as to the Cat 2 or Cat 3 upgrade? Does it also have to do with the environment? Because most times you put you're traveling, and the last time I was traveling, I saw them engaging in bush burning. And for me, I don't know if it's part of what you had in the budget to clear the bush, to clear grass with fire, and which you know how hazardous. I know that your airplanes are made of duralumin, which is like the lightest metal, and you know, within the airport airspace safety net, it's about the worst environmental hazard. So I don't know why it still goes on. As Mr. Chairman, even as of last week, and they know, not just Owerri, nationwide, but I know it's in the budget for provisions for clearing of those. So please, could you just explain to us what you've done with the budgetary provision for that, and please ensure that such harmful practices are not carried out again. Thank you.
So passenger interest is prime in our mind. So the improvement on facilities is to make it better and easier. On the issue of bush burning, ordinarily I would have asked FAN to answer. But for certain, I know that FAN is not the one burning bush. My limited knowledge on what has happened in the airport is that a lot of people encroach on the airport space, on airport land, and they plant there. And most likely I have asked my own airspace manager in Owerri why it is happening. And it is the farmers there that are doing the bush burning. I'll leave it to FAN to collaborate or... No, Ma, Honorable Ma, Honorable Ma, I can tell you for certain, in Ondo, in Akure, there are farmers there on the land, on our land. Yes, in Benin.
Honorable, what he's trying to say, sir, what we want to ask, let's reinforce our patrol team. Yes, let's reinforce our patrol team. If we patrol regularly, we'll be able to check them. But what happens on Sundays? Because Nigerians are, I don't know what language to use now, so that let it not be that I'm insulting anybody. We are becoming desperate about our attitude towards government installations. Is it your own? By the time they threaten the airport workers, it's a different ball game. You know, I'll tell you, about 15 years ago, I happened to be I did the fencing of Kano Airport about 15, 18 years ago. It was war. You know what they call war? If you erect fence today, the following morning before you come, they bring it down. And before the engineers will come and certify a job, it's already done. They say you have not worked. The only thing you find there is evidence of block that are congealed with cement, but nobody was paying for it. So these are, maybe you need to engage the communities around the airport to talk to them. Though, I think that is purely the business of FAN, not because they are the landlords of the airports, not NCA, not NAMA, not AIB. So FAN need to be made, they should live up to their expectation. We should make them to be alive to their responsibilities. Thank you.
It's also to find out from NCA, FAN, or NAMA, what happened to the passengers that were diverted to other countries. Who is going to take care of those passengers vis-a-vis compensation? Is it the agency or the airline? NCA.
More light on that. You see, like my colleague, the MD Nama, had said, actually the responsibility of diverting of a flight rests as much as with the pilot in command, that is the captain of the flight, and also the airline itself. All airlines, big airlines, they have what is called standard operating procedure. He knows very well. Now, before you depart your point of departure to destination, you have already established where is going to be your alternate. And most considerations are given to where do I have the best service for the passengers I'm carrying. Do I have a station in Accra that will handle the volume of passengers that I'm going to divert with in the event I'm not able to land in Lagos? So if it is economically better for the company to divert to Accra, of course, immediately they come, they cannot land in Lagos, they go to Accra. The station manager is informed, people are waiting, they have booked accommodation for the number of passengers they have on board. Now, like we have all had, since a lot of us were not there live, you see, when you divert, now you wait for the weather to improve. And like the MD said, he's really, accept apologies on his behalf, sir. What it really meant is not that he was choosing the airlines that were making it into Lagos and some were diverting to Accra. You see, there's this issue of certain airlines that operate with not really a very modern, it could be a 747, it could be a 777. It might not be as equipped as that of Virgin Atlantic or KLM or Lufthansa or Air France, other operators. Just like you mentioned, apart from the VOR DME approaches we have, the same Westerners came to sell us PBN, performance-based navigation, which they categorize to include what we call nav approach. You understand? And they were telling us that yes, this is very good. It's better than ILS because ILS and VOR, you have ground equipment that you have to maintain. This is terrestrial communication. Performance-based, you just get information from GPS, you come, you establish your airplane and so on, and you make the approach, and you go in and land. Lufthansa, they do that, they land KLM and so on and so forth. So, but others that choose to, because of the way they look at us sometimes, I'm sorry to say so, they carry any kind of aeroplane, bring it into Nigeria. Some of the pilots, like the MD said, are not qualified to probably do the performance navigation approaches. Even though it's been established all over the world, we're all experienced pilots, that there is no navigational approach that is as reliable as ILS, instrument landing system. in the whole world.
Acting DG, please. The question the chairman asked.
Because weather. One of them is probably the airport is closed due to probably like what happened in Lagos. Now, the responsibility of that passenger is the airline. The airline will tell you, just like it happened, which I know, British Airways took some Nigerian passengers to Accra, accommodated them for 2 days. They said, we can only accommodate you for 2 days while we look for an improvement or a window in the weather situation condition in Lagos. If it does not happen after 2 days, we will fly you back to England. Now, some, from what I had since I was not a party, chose, Accra, Lagos, we'll go by road. And some chose to leave Accra to come to Lagos by road. So you see, sorry, sir, I will come back to the issue of, this I answer. Naturally, every passenger that has purchased a ticket, his responsibility lies with that airline. We have a Bill of Rights, NCAA Bill of Rights. You understand? That empowers the passenger to demand his right from the airline. You understand? Now, what the airline now is doing is, okay, we have brought you to Lagos, we couldn't land. We have diverted to Accra, we'll put you in a hotel. Maximum is 2 days. If we are unable to take you to Lagos, we'll take you back to where we brought you. Do you understand? Some probably had just visa into England. Some, could not go back, or when they get there, they could not go into town, and so on and so on. So some chose no. Instead of going back to England, this is Accra, this is Lagos. I was not part of, I was not there. So, but finally, to answer the question straightforward, sir, the responsibility of a passenger that buys an airline ticket is that of the airline. And the passenger has a right to claim his right through NCAA Consumer Protection Directorate, sir. We have a regulation to... No, sir, this is design in flight operations already. It's an internationally accepted phenomenon. Yes, sir. When you plan your flight, you plan I'm departing point A to point B. In the event I'm unable to land in point B, what is my destination? Is a must. You must carry enough fuel to an alternate. Now, you are allowed, if you are on an international flight, to carry out 45 minutes, what's called 45 minutes reserve fuel. Because I will tell you very honest, like we say we are pilots, we're very proud pilots, really, sorry, sir. We have flown a lot. And I will be honest with you, sir. I've been to Lagos almost all my life, early morning flights. It had never been this bad. Sometimes you come to Lagos during Harmattan season. They say low cloud. You hold for 30 minutes or less. The sea breeze will blow. And it will blow out and the visibility will open. That's when we were flying, like you said, VOR DME approach, 1,600 meters minimum visibility until the ILS came. So you see, sometimes. Now, the planning of calibration, which the MD Nama, I'm not supporting him because he's my colleague. No, we regulate them. I have documents where we wrote to them what is happening. Now, we knew they had a plan to calibrate this equipment. Now, you can make a plan. Do you understand? Now, nobody foresaw that weather like the honorable gentleman here said. Well, we must have that equipment, we should have calibrated. Yes, there was a plan to calibrate. And when they came to calibrate Lagos, and they found out that they were having these interferences, and they, don't forget, they went to Abuja and did the Cat 3 ILS calibration. By the time they came back to Lagos, the weather had deteriorated so much that...
Sorry, excuse me. Acting MD, let me ask you one question. Was effected and everything was done by 3rd week of December. would the airlines, would they have landed? Is it simple yes or no?
Okay, the point is this, sir. No, you install an equipment, like he's trying to tell me. Well, it's not my field, sir.
Hold on,
Yes, sir.
hold on. I don't. If it were functioning by end of December, will the airlines that diverted to Accra, would they have landed in Lagos?
In Lagos?
Yes.
If it was functioning properly, yes. But don't forget, sir, can I add something? You install something, you need to calibrate it. The ILS Cat 3 is new to Nigeria. You understand? It was installed. It has to be calibrated. Now, during the process of calibration, that's when the problems were identified. The ground equipment, the interference, that's when it was identified. But if you see, they went straight to Abuja, they did the calibration. So just to show you that, yes, one, the interference we're talking is real. And we have the report. You understand, sir? If you call NCC, they will tell you. Now, the weather situation is true, sir. It's just a bad planning went bad. And like the MD Nama apologized to the Nigerian, we too, all the agencies, we feel, sir, we were spending sleepless night, I'll be honest with you. Because every diversion they will call me. Every diversion they will call me, sir. Every diversion, and it was becoming so embarrassing.
How many diversions did you have?
No, I don't have the record.
Like 100?
No, I think no.
I think I have.
Hundreds are no, not even up to 50.
He wants to say something.
I think we have 11 between 11th and 13th of February.
11 diversions.
11 diversions. That's what I'm saying.
11?
Yes.
11 number?
Yes, 11 number.
You see, sir, it was really.
No, he said other places not made. Do you understand?
No, he mentioned no, sir. Okay.
All right, sir. We did calibration, and I did say when we left Abuja and finished Abuja, we went to Kaduna, we went to Kano, we went to Katsina, we went to Minna, we went to Ilorin, we went to Port Harcourt and Zaria. So this, we didn't just, focus on Lagos and Abuja. No, the thing was for Lagos and Abuja, it was a commissioning of Category 3. Have I answered your question, sir? Like I said earlier, sir, I said in the immediate future, there is a plan to increase ILS Category 3 by 5. And funds being provided, we will install in Port Harcourt, in Kano, in Maiduguri.
Madam, I would like you to give us the breakdown of the 11, just quickly run over it. And I like the fact that a couple of people have actually joined in the answering of questions apart from the MD, because everybody, you have their own specialties. So I'm sure the MD will not have 100% of the answers to all the questions. So it's something of concern to everyone. So Madam, please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. On the 11th, we have 5 diversions. Qatar Airways diverted to Cotonou, February. Qatar Airways diverted to Cotonou. Emirates diverted to Accra. Delta to Accra, BA to Accra, and Cargo lost to Cotonou. On the 12th, we have Qatar to Accra, Ethiopia to Lome, Kenya to Lome, Emirates to Accra, BA to Abuja. That's the second time. Then on the 13th, we have Askai diverting to Lome. Though we have a lot of cancellations.
Askai coming from when?
So,
from
I think South Africa. If Askai goes to US, it goes to South Africa. They have a code share with us.
So did any international flight land when others were diverted?
Yes. Okay, like that 11th, where we have these 5 diverting, every other flight landed. KLM, Air France, Lufthansa, ET, South African Airways, Virgin Atlantic, Air France, Turkish,
And obviously all the
all the domestic flights.
So are you telling us that this airline you mentioned never diverted flights?
No, the only one, ET diverted once, Lufthansa cancelled once from coming.
But the day Lufthansa cancelled, other international flights landed.
Yes, they landed. They KLM, you know, it's Lufthansa KLM. KLM landed.
What do you Lufthansa KLM? It's not KLM.
No, it's one the company that operates them. So the others were landing while this one's diverted. The only cancellations was our, then Emirates. Emirates cancelled for 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th. But they started 21st. They started flying to.
I heard Qatar diverted to Abuja.
They requested.
Yes.
Yeah, we were granted, yeah. The minister granted them, sir, honorable minister. And we followed up. So sometimes, you see, most of trainings, pilot trainings, are being done in simulators. These simulators carry all the destinations the airline goes to. Now, it depends on the commitment of the airline. Like, if you see all our local or domestic airlines were landing, we call them, well, local boys. You know, because this is my hometown. I mean, this is my house. I have VORDME working. I can now shoot VORDME to certain level, and then I go into RNAV. RNAV will bring me to the center line of the runway, and I know where I am. Now, back to where I was saying, all simulators are supposed to carry the database of the airports all the airlines fly into. And during training, they do all these things, like the MD Nama said. Sometimes some pilots or some companies don't train their pilots to what we call, or to do what we call low visibility approach. So if you're not qualified to do low visibility approach, you're used to Cat 1. Cat 1 is not actually part of low visibility approach, starts from Cat 2.
I think we may not agree, have very top airlines like BA.
No, that, yeah.
So in terms of that, let's understand that BA
MA and Abuja are Cat 3. I can say that categorically. They are Cat 3 airfield lighting. And that's why the Cat 3 ILS could be inculcated into the airfield lighting.
Like the chairman asked earlier on to the NAMA MD, I'm going to ask you too. So that means all things being equal, MMA and FAN is now saying that the approach and the runway lights have been upgraded, so there will be no talks of diversion of flights, right?
With the way things are right now, yes.
Okay.